Good day, everyone. Today we're going to discuss about the introduction of personal finance. But beforehand, I'd like to give a perspective of what we are going to do with personal finance. Personal finance is divided into 6 parts. Part 1 will be on the foundations of financial planning. Part 2, managing assets. Part 3, managing credits. Part 4, managing insurance needs. Part 5, managing investments. And Part 6, retirement and estate planning. Now, for the grading system of these subjects, we do have activities provided at the end of every chapter, and it is graded equally with regards to its activities, analysis, abstraction, and application. Now, it's not only ending up submissions of your activities, but it will be validated by a call from me and random. Now, if you perfectly answered your submissions, then it will be graded 100%. If it is partly, 85%. If it is unexplained, 70%. That goes with the A, B, BC factors of 1.0, 0.85, and 0.7 respectively. And for the activity grade, it will be the sum of the rubrics grade times AVVC. And for your final grade, it will be the average of all the activity or the grades of all the activities provided to you. So let's proceed with part 1, foundations of financial planning. Now, we are now going to understand what is the financial planning process. But beforehand, allow me to introduce to you the types of financial goals. We do have long-term, we do have short-term, and we do have intermediate term. What do you mean by long-term? It is a target 30 years from now. So if you are 18 years old now, plus 30, who will be you? What are your financial status 48 years, if you are now 48 years old? Can you imagine how financially stable you are at the age of 48? That will be a long term. And for your short term, that is your year-to-year activity. We're going to collectively have a summary of your monthly spendings and savings and investment, and how well you profile them to form how much is your savings, how much is your investment, and how much is your emergency fund. And for your intermediate term, that bridges the gap between your short and long term. An example for that is to establish a cash budget on a year-to-year basis, in which, as we discuss later on, will be tackled. Now, first is we are going to identify the benefits of using personal finance planning. Why do we have to learn, or why do we have to learn and use financial planning techniques? So number one benefit of that is it will improve your standard of living. What do you mean by that? You will live beyond commodity. May I ask you, how many times do you enter Jollibee? How many times do you dine in with malls? If the answer is no, then the standard of living is not yet improved. You are living on commodity. Because entering those, what I have mentioned is some sort of enjoying yourself in comfort and luxuries. Next is benefits of personal planning is you spend your money wisely because it's planned already. How will you spend currently and how will be your spending behavior in the future times of your life. And then another benefit is that you can accumulate wealth. Even by accumulate, you will have your assets. And assets are defined as tangible and intangible. What are those tangible assets? Your gadgets, your cell phones. Perhaps someday you will be having your motorcycle. You can purchase your car, or you can build a home or a house of your dream. And that's tangible. What about intangible? Do you have savings in the bank? Do you have a running investment in any investment profiles? Those are the benefits of using personal finance. Next is you are going to describe your personal financial planning process in order to define your goals. So how are you doing? How are you going to do it? You have to define your financial goal. What are your goals? Long term, short term, intermediate. What do you want your life to be? 30 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or after a year. You define your goals. Sabihin mo, dapat meron akong car. Dapat meron akong motorcycle. Dapat nakabili ako ng bahay. Makabuild ako ng bahay na aking sarili. Dapat maging financial independent ako 10 years from now. So, what do you mean? You finish your course, 4 years. That is, if you can do it in 4 years, and after 6 years, hindi ka na nakadependent sa iyong parents. Hindi ka na nakadependent sa iyong ate, kuya. You are now spending your own money. Next is develop financial plans and strategies to achieve goals. Now, what are these plans? What are your plans? Now, the indicator of this is that you can attain satisfaction with utility. What do you mean by utility? Kung gusto mong magluto, ano bang ginagamit mo? Do you have a rice cooker? Do you have a gas range? That's form utility. Kung gusto mong magpahinga, do you have a bed? Kung gusto mong mag-relax, do you have your comfortable living room? That's utility. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng satisfaction with utility. May magagamit ka ba? Then, you develop your personal value system about money. Ano ba ang pananaw mo sa pera? Pag may pera, gasta. Wala mang savings, walang tinatago. Now, especially in these difficult times, diba? And then, financial compatibility. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng financial compatibility? Saan ka ba mas hiyang na kumita ng pera? Mga musikero, ngayon, anong nangyayari? Bagsak ang turismo. Ang hiyang nila na kumikita sila ay tumugtog. Wala silang kita. Ito ba? Sa ngayon, sa ano bang paraan hiyang yung parents mo na kumita ng pera? Saan? Anong pamamaraan? That is what they mean by financial compatibility. Paano tayo kumita? Saan tayo madaling kumita ng pera? Then next, the process of financial planning is implement plans, financial plans, and strategies by means of this. Asset acquisition. So yung 1 and 2 kasi, you are defining your goals. Developing your plans. Next is to implement your plans. So ano ba ang pamamaraan na mag-implement ng plans? Bibili ng asset. Yan, bibili ka ng gadget. Diba? Then, magkakaroon ka ng insurance. Then, magkakaroon ka ng savings and investment. Then, you have to consider your benefit kapag nagtatrabaho ka. Ano ba ang mga benefit na maa-avail mo? Sa private, we have SSS, we have PhilHealth, we have Pag-ibig. Ano ba ang mga profiles na pwede mong i-avail with this employee benefits? Next, you have tax planning. Sa atin sa Pilipinas, simple ang ating tax profiles. No? Kapag ang income mo is below 250,000 per year, wala kang tax. Okay? Simple lang. So marami sa Pinoy ngayon walang tax kasi their earnings are below 250,000 per annum. The next is retirement and estate. Sabagay, medyo malayo pa sa inyo ang mag-retire. Kasi batang-bata pa kayo. No? Sa kanya naisipin yon, and then we'll be discussing it also later. How are you going to plan retirement and estate? Then, managing two incomes. Later on, kung sobrang sipag nyo, trabaho sa araw for your 8 hours, and then you have a sideline at the evening. Now, be sure to have an 8-hour sleep every day. No? So, malaki nga kinikita, pero baka mahulig lang yun sa pag-maintain ng iyong health. And then, especially in this tough economic time, ngayong COVID, no? Kailangan natin kumayod. And then, using financial planners. Now, if you don't know how to plan your surplus, then consult some experts in it, no? Of course, meron yung fee. Okay. Then, next process is periodically develop and implement budgets. Now, there will be, as we discuss later on, we will be providing you how are you going to implement budgets. And then use financial statements to evaluate results. So, yung FS, ito yung tatlo. For those who are EBM, pag sinabing financial statements, tatlo yun. We have the balance sheet, we have the income statement, and the cash flow. Okay? In which, for those who are non, we'll be discussing it later. Just in case yung financial statement doesn't go well, then you have to readjust it. Then, number 6 process is you have to redefine your goals. Revise your plans and strategies as personal circumstance change. So for example, ngayon, nagtatrabaho ka sa isang company, then later on, na-lay off ka. So ano naman ang gagawin mo next time? Sa atin, yung pag mahirap ang employment, mahirap talaga mag-build ng financial planning. Wala ng plano-plano. Gasto na ng gasto. Maghanap ng trabaho para magkaroon ng igagastos. Pero, just in case you do have a very good job later on, then you must build your financial planning. Next to discuss is the economic cycle and their role with financial goals. Ano ba itong tinatawag na economic cycle? Ito yung turn of economy from expansion, recession, depression, and recovery. Before we discuss it thoroughly, allow me to define what is expansion. So makita nyo sa slides is levels of employment and production are high, accompanied by high price of goods and services. Recession, levels of employment fall and the economic growth is slow. Depression, levels of employment and production are low. Economic growth is still or even negative. And for recovery, levels of employment are improving and the economy is growing. Tanong ko po sa inyo lahat, ngayong COVID-19, nasaan po tayo dito sa apat na ito? Bigyan ko kayo ng 1 minuto mag-isip. Nandito ba tayo sa expansion? Nandito ba tayo sa recession? Nandito ba tayo sa depression o nandito ba tayo sa recovery? 1 minute. Okay. Nasaan na tayo ngayon? Anong state, nasaan na tayo sa cycle ng ating economy? Expansion, recession, depression, recovery. From March until now, we are experiencing COVID-19. Just as they did experience it in 1918, 100 years, so 1 century ago. The case before is Spanish flu. Now is COVID-19. Saan tayo nanggagaling? Tayo ay galing sa expansion. Nung bago ang advent ng COVID-19 in March, nandun tayo sa expansion period. Levels of employment and production are high. Tataas ng mga prices and services. Tama? Ngayon, nasaan tayo? We are now in the period of the recession. Levels of employment fall from expansion and the economic growth is slow. Bakit? From March, nagsarahan ang mga business. Ngayon, unti-unti nang binubuksan. What do you think will happen? Are we going to proceed with depression? Ang ibig sabihin ng depression, mas malala pa kaysa ngayon. What do you think? Now, if you are going to read the newspapers, if you are going to log on Facebook, there are so many build projects done by the government. Yung Manila Bay, yung beach na Manila Bay na overlay ng Dolomite sand, white sand. Pattern from other countries. Are we proceeding depression? In my own opinion, sa akin lang, hindi ito magpo-proceed ng depression. Bakit? Binubuksan na ang ekonomiya. Binubuksan na ang transport, although hindi pa ganoon kadami ang nagbumibiyahe. Binubuksan na ang ibang mga sectors. Malls, binubuksan na, although the occupancy is still low. 50% pa lang. Binubuksan na ang mga hotels. Binubuksan na ang restaurants. So the economy will not proceed depression. Ang depression ay mangyayari kapag tuloy-tuloy na pinagsasara lahat ng economy. So, ang problema ngayon, kailan yung recovery? Yung employment tataas ulit and the economy will grow. So, let's proceed. We are going to examine the economic environment's influence on personal income by means of determining the common price index. Are the cost of consumer goods and services now higher than before March 11? Is the purchasing power, meaning how much a peso can buy now? Sa 100 o sa 10 piso, makabili ka pa ba ng sardinas? Makabili ka pa ba ng bigas? Ano ang mabibili mo sa 10 piso? 2 pirasong tinapay na tigli 5 piso. Then, what do you think? Will it enough for your meal? Maski single meal lang, yung 10 piso? And that is what we mean by purchasing power. Kapag mataas ang CPI, mababa ang purchasing power. And with that, interest rates. Tataas yung interest rate. So, tataas yung borrowing cost, mortgage cost, and it's very detrimental sa stock and bond. And it's also devastating to the mga retirement plans and long-term financial goals. Hindi pa kasama yan ha, yung mga graft and corruption allegedly sa ating mga government offices. No? PhilHealth ngayon, di ba may issue? Hindi yon result ng economic activities natin, yung economic cycle, pero gawa yun personal ng tao. And then next is we have to evaluate the impact of AIDS, education, geographic location sa ating mga personal income. Now, ideally, dapat daw ang tao mayroong mas madami edukasyon or mas malaking edukasyon kapag you reach 40 to 65. Now, sa akin, medyo na-comply ko na to kasi ang dami kong edukasyon. I really reached my doctoral level. Then, of course, I'm enjoying also the income. So, it's proportional. Kung malaki ang na-earn mo na education, mataas yung na-earn mo na education, mataas din yung bayan sa'yo in terms of your employment. Okay, next is, kung saan ko nakatira, regionally, it's also a factor. Yung income ng taga-Manay, iba sa income ng nagtatrabaho sa Davao. Now, then what career to choose? Kayo, BSBA major in finance, ano ba ang career na pipiliin nyo? Kapag kayo ay nagtapos sa inyong kurso, ano ba ang skills na ma-develop mo with your course? Ano bang interest na ma-develop mo sa iyong course? Ano ba ang may dudulot nito sa lifestyle mo, yung preferred lifestyle mo after finishing your course? Ano ba ang mabago niyan sa iyong personal values with regards to your course? And how are you going to deal it sa mga social trends, demographic trends, economic and technological trends? Ano ba yung social trends? Ano ba ngayon ang in? No? Sa social media, maski hindi ka graduate, kung meron kang interest, o meron kang talent ng makapag-create ng video na magkaroon ng 1 million views, pera na. Di ba? That's social trend. Demographic trend. Ano ba ngayon ang kadalasan ginagawa ng kabataan na mapagkakapirahan? Galit na galit tayo sa ML. Pero ang ML nagiging nagiging sports pa. No? Economic trends, baba diyan, bagsak na yun. Technological, ano ba ang in ngayon? Na nag-COVID, ang in ngayon na business is errand. Alam niyo ba kung anong errand? Mga utos-utusan. Logistics. Diba? LBC. Mga express. Diyan ang trend ngayon. And allow me to go back to this highlighted in yellow according to Gitman and et al. For about 75 years, the government has been successful in keeping the economy out of depression. Diba nabanggit ko later on, nabanggit ko kanina na 1918 Spanish flu, and it took 75 years for an economy to recover. So, 1918 plus 75, 1993. Na if you were going to apply it to the Philippine economy, that is 1993 na nag-umpisa ang digital world sa Pilipinas. Meron nang pumasok na cellphone noon na malalaki, 1993. And it revolutionized abruptly. Nag-revolutionize siya. Beeper pa lang noon, ngayon na-develop into cellphone. And then early 2000, yun na. Cellphone na ang technology, nag-revolutionize ang internet. So from 1993 to 2020, for me, that is the expansion period of the Philippine economy. 2020, before COVID time. Tama ang history, no? 1918, global yun pandemic. And then plus 75, 1993, doon nag-start ang expansion ng Philippine economy. So 93, 7, it occurs for 27 years. Okay? I hope I given you a perspective of what happens to our economy. Then allow me to proceed to understanding the importance of career choices in relations to personal finance planning. Now, beforehand, discussing that, I'd like to impart you ano sabi ng US News and World Report Career Center na isang Amerikano daw ay nagkakaroon ng 10 jobs in his life. And nagkaroon din siya ng 5 or more than employees in their lifetime. Kayo kaya, ilan ang magiging changes nyo sa jobs within your lifetime? Ilan din ang magiging employer nyo within your lifetime? Okay? Because financial planning and career planning are closely related. Kung wala po kayong career, wala kayong plano financially. Kumbaga, ang mangyayari sa atin dyan, kahit isang tuka, no? Ang para manok, no? Kung anong income, kakainin. But, if you do have career planning, then you can plan your financial stability as well. No? Financial planning is a lifelong process. Hanggang ngayon, no? Still, we are working on it. No? Since career goals are likely to change, hindi inaasahan na isa lang trabaho mo for a lifetime. Napaka-honest mo naman at saka napaka-loyal sa iyong career, sa iyong employer kapag gano'n na nangyayari. The next is steps in career planning. Number 1, identify interest. Best BA major in finance. Anong interest mo ngayon? Saan ka ba mas inclined sa mga subjects later on? You have to identify it. Identify your skills. Identify your values, your needs. Ang maganda dito, kapag alam mo ang needs mo in the future, you work on it. Ikaw, naging guide ko yan kung anong needs ko. That's why I work it very hard. Maski walang pera, mahirap ang pera sa amin noon. Pero I work hard, I study hard, I work it on my way. Nag-aral ako ng sariling sikap. Mabuti nga sa inyo ngayon, may scholarship. Nandyan ka sa bahay niyo, nag-aaral. Sa amin doon, you have to travel. I have to travel from Davao Oriental to Iligan City. No? Ako lang mag-isa. Okay? You have to do it. Then, set specific long and short-term career goals. Na-discuss na natin yung long, 30 years. Yung short-term, 1 year. Then yung intermediate is your how are you going to bridge between two. Then develop and use action plan to achieve these goals. So what are you going to do? As the intervention in your own self in order to achieve this goal. And then if the situation changes or it doesn't goes with your will, then you have to review and revise your career plan. Okay, here are the activities. We are done with the discussion. We are now proceeding with the activities. Here is a sample activity that I made for you as a guide. So we have here a question. Summarize the trends in economy with regards to GDP growth, unemployment, and inflation. How should one use this information to make a personal, financial, and career planning decisions? Okay. Now, trends in economy, according to previous slide, can be best explained by economic cycle. What are those? Expansion, recession, depression, recovery. Where are we now? We are now in recession. What do we expect? Are we going to proceed with depression? Sa akin, I think no. Diretso na tayo nito sa recovery. So, yung 75 years, sa tingin ko, will be shortened. Like, it's not the same pattern that we experienced before. Kasi iba na ngayon. No? Okay. During expansion trend, careers must be planned very well. Kailan ba yung expansion period ng Philippine economy? That was from 1993 and 2020 before COVID. Yun yung peak ng ating economy. Nakuha niyo? Nakuha niyo? And during this expansion, careers must be planned very well. Pero hindi nyo ito gagawin. Kasi dapat ang parents nyo ang gumawa nito. They have to build their careers. Kasi ito yung peak ninyo mga parents. Ito yung time nila eh. Kung contemporary ko yung mga parents nyo, this is our period, 1993 to 2020, wherein we reaches 40 to 50 years old. Sa amin na yun, no? So, careers can be built parallel with the attainment and acquisition of education. It's been discussed already with the previous slides, di ba? Pagka meron kang edukasyon, meron kang future. Kumbaga, no? And then, you have these skills. What are the skills? Kung di kayang mag-aral ng ating mga parents noon, dapat meron silang skills. Dapat ano ba ang kanilang interest? At ito, lifetime preference will help na magpursigi ang tao. I don't want to live in this kind of living situation. Gusto ko ma-improve yung aking life. Yun din ang pananaw ko sa buhay dati. Gusto ko ma-improve. I don't want to stay in a shop. I want to improve. Kaya nag-aral ako maski kung saan-saan ako nakaabot just to finish my schooling. Then, yung personal values. Ano ba ang value mo to education? Diba? So ngayon, mag-aral lang mabuti. Diyan trends in social, actually, na-discuss na ito dati kanina. The social, demographic, and technology. Now, with expansion trend, careers are available. Sa ngayon, careers are available, favorable. So kung gumraduate kayo, anong mangyayari nito ngayon? Nasa stage tayo ng recession. Kapag recession kasi, low ang employment. Wala pa gaano nag-open na mga job opportunities. So kung low ang employment, disturb din ang financial planning. So yung purchasing power natin is low. Hindi naman bumababa yung presyo, di ba? No, kung hindi ito ma-manage, malamang pupunta tayo sa depression. Pero sa akin, hindi. No? The government intervention is working very well. sa moving couple of years, kung makarecover na, employment will rise again. So, tansyahin nyo kayo. Kayo yun ang mag-develop. Government is spending on you for your education, so you have to culture it, no? You have to develop it. Kayo yung season ngayon na papunta sa recovery ng economy. So you have to prepare yourselves para mabigyan nyo naman ng magandang kinabukasan ang inyong mga future generations. And then my analysis. What are the essential features of the activity? Now, sabi ko dito, financial career planning has peak and off season. And so, ngayon, kailan ba naging peak? Noon, no? Before COVID, from 1993 until March 10, 2020, yun yung peak natin. Ngayon, papunta tayo sa off-season, no? Pero ngayon, sa off-season, we should be very attentive kasi ang assumption natin, hindi na tayo dadaan ng depression, kundi papunta tayo sa recovery, no? And then, papunta tayo sa expansion. And that is your time. Kayo yun ngayon. The COVID-19 pandemic is a stage of recession. Kung hindi ito ma-manage, sabi ko kanina, we'll proceed to depression, but I think it will not. Now, in this period, dito din, di ba? Financial planning is also disturbed. Kasi yung source of income natin is unstable, yung investment profile is swaying, or even zigzag kung tayo po ay engaged into business. And of course, financial planning is also disturbed. Ang ating mga investment sometimes is downtrend, no? Marami nagsara, mga businesses. Although this is a global scenario, yung iba na may surplus, tinatago. Yung ibang investors, hindi na binubuksan yung kanilang negosyo. That's why employment stops. At pag guminto kasi employment, doon pumapasok yung recession. Na? Okay. Abstraction. What is my idea with the activity? For me, we have to work hard to prepare ourselves in the recovery period towards expansion period. Diba? Kayo yun. You have to prepare yourself. So, during recession, depression, you have the opportunity. Kasi kayo nag-aaral ngayon. You have to earn it. You have to finish it. Kasi sabi natin kanina, parallel yan, equivalent, high education, high salary. And then, aside from earning education, you develop your skills. You improve interest. And you adapt trends. And then you capitalize that when recovery expansion takes off. Hindi ko sinasabi na kailan, but as per assumptions, hindi na tayo magde-depression. Na? Then application, say for example, ako, IT ako, no? So, kayo, major in finance, ano ba? Ano bang other skills nyo aside from what you're studying now? Okay, I will enhance my web development skills. Yung anak ko, so for example, ang skills niya ay music, no? Although nag-aaral siya ngayon ng other field, pero ang hindi pa rin namin inano yung kanyang skills sa music. She is earning on that. He's developing a skills on it. So we're not containing him kung anong gusto namin po para sa kanya. Open yun. See, we need to develop skills ngayon other than education. Mas maganda kung yung skills mo is related to your education. Diba? Then proceeding with the next slides, here is your activity. How can financial planning tools help you improve your financial situation? and describe the changes you can make in at least 3 areas. Huwag na tayong gumamit ng iba pang page. Short answers kasi I don't like lengthy answers. Yung short and concise na direct to the points. Okay? This is your activity number 2. Assume that you graduated from college with a course of BSA major in finance and took a job as collection officer via Yamaha branch. After 3 years of work, you are laid off due to company downsizing. Describe the steps that you can repackage yourself for another field. Good day, and thank you for your time in viewing this video. I hope you learned. Bye-bye.